What kind of LaCroix is that?
This one is a beach plum. Let's just
Is
put
it
it
good?
there.
Because I saw that at the market, and I was like, "What does plum even taste like?" I can't even think of the taste of plum.
Oh, sorry. I'm just laughing because we just had a conversation about bananas and smells yesterday, which, by the way, I will answer your question. But on TikTok,
Oh
the
yeah,
people have things to say.
there's so many people who are on my
No, you're
side.
absolutely right. Like, and I'm not anti your side. It just blows my mind that people couldn't eat. I know people have allergies. You haven't expressed an allergy yet.
I
You're
don't
just like,
have
I
an
don't
allergy.
like it.
Yeah, like to the max. One of my girlfriends from the post on Instagram,
Hmm.
she messaged me. She's like, "I'm laughing out loud," and then I just thought, "Oh my gosh, did I ever eat a banana near her?" She's
Yeah,
like
people
going
are
through our
now.
friendship, like, "Oh no, what have I done?"
Oh my God, for 10 years, I was eating copious amounts of bananas.
Just that slow like
Yeah,
of a banana. Oh, even the sound of it. God, okay, don't even. I can't go back.
yeah, let's not go back to it. No, beach plum has a refreshing taste. I think that's because they decided to put some beach in here.
Just a bit of sand in every
Just a
plum.
little bit of sand, a little bit of salty water with fish poop in it. But it's the plum. It's the
The plum
plum that
overrides all
balances
those
it.
things. Yeah. It's also like a funny thing because like when I think of going to the beach, I'm not like beach time, pack up those plums. I'm more
Right,
like
right, right.
watermelon or I don't know, like even a peach, like plums is a weird, it feels like a fall fruit to me.
Well, plums for me sounds very sexual. So, like, I think of plums,
Plum.
like plums are like plums is adjacent to the image of peach. You're like, ooh, she got some nice plums, or
Oh, interesting.
he got some
I would
nice
have thought
plums
like
on him.
plums are like balls. Like
Well,
that's what I thought.
that's why I changed
Oh.
it. I did say the moment I said it, I was like, oh yeah, he's got some nice plums too.
I'm like, because plums are if balls instead were plums, I'd be much happier in life. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like balls being replaced by plums would be a great evolution of
Can
men's
we
bodies.
let's get that going?
What
Like how often? How often?
does that mean? Let's get that going. Like let's start like
Yeah.
evolving humans, like having sort of
Hmm.
like a like they clone Tyrone type situation where
Yeah.
we like put
Great movie,
okay,
by the
I'm into
way.
this. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
No,
I
I was
apologize.
just trying to think like I'm gonna kick you in the plums, like some like
And then it just
stuff
squishes me
like
like
that.
I'm totally fine. They're actually
Yeah.
like plums down there.
Oh no, I wasn't. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're like literally, let's take fruit
Yes.
and be like, well, sir, we're gonna have to remove one of your testicles. It's, unfortunately,
Yes.
cancer. But good news, we got these plums.
We got these
This
plums.
we have fresh plums. We also have prunes. You're a little
Yeah,
older,
yeah.
so
It's
if you
up
want
to
to,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We thought we'd match, but it's up to you. If you like a fresh
up to
plum,
you.
you're
Your
welcome to
choice.
have
Your
that.
choice. Just
Okay.
so you know, plums will turn into prunes. So
You
if you
know,
want to just go ahead and
you
bypass that
can
part of
Botox
evolution.
them, keep them in plum form. Okay. They will
How
never
do
be
you
edible,
just?
but
That's what the beach plum is. They just inject LaCroix into your new plum sack. Yes, I called it a plum sack.
a
You're
plum
welcome.
sack is our new merge. Plum sack.
Plum sack brought to you by LaCroix. You know what? These motherfuckers better sponsor us by now. Welcome to a work in progress.
A work in progress.
Aisha.
With eyes on fire, I'm blinded to the sun. My senses tell me my day is never done.
We're just trying to. We're a work in progress.
We're a work
figuring
in
it out, man.
progress, yeah. But yeah, we were starting to talk about. Did I answer your question about beach plum?
Like what it tasted like. I mean, the
Yeah.
answer was long and like had a lot of loops, and I appreciate it so much.
Okay. Yeah, that's again my AD. I think I need to go get checked for ADHD. But
You know what?
do you
Everyone
go get
has it now,
checked?
so it's fine.
Tested? I
Yeah,
think you get
you go
tested,
see it.
right?
You go get it tested. I had an initial test
Okay. What was the response?
that she thinks I should go get properly tested. It was like my
Oh, okay.
therapist because she's like you have to go to like not a psychologist, psychiatrist I think or something
Okay.
to officially get it because it's like but the test that she did is like for kids actually. So some of the questions were like, do you want to stand up and like move around when you should be sitting at a desk or at a table? And I was like, that's a weird one. She's like, yeah, these are mostly for kids. And I
You're
was
like,
like, is
but
there
you're
an
also
adult
like,
one though?
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, I've always wanted to like be up. I don't like sitting, but yeah, I was like, she was like basically like, she's like, yeah, it's tough too because some of the stuff I'm like, because of being a mom, I
Right.
also have those things from like mom stuff. So I was like, I don't know, yes, and also, and she was like, yeah, it's tough. Like she's like, think back to before you had kids, and I was like, I can't think that far back.
Yeah.
I can't think back to yesterday. I don't know what
You're like,
happened.
what's wrong with me? Do I have dementia?
That's like, I don't have ADHD. I just have early onset dementia. And
Dementia.
they're
You're
like,
like, I can't think about what my life was like before my children. Oh no.
That might be, I laugh, but it feels very accurate.
Today we want to talk about our career backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the jobs and hustles, side hustles and gigs we did before we became world famous celebrities.
So famous. Like it's even hard to, there's even hard to imagine a time when we weren't so famous.
No, I mean, yeah. I look back at those days and I'm like, how did I even think that I was going to clock in to a 9 to 5?
We didn't even have a yacht yet.
Yeah.
How did we get from here to Saint Tropez?
And now we have 6 yachts.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna get another one next week, actually. So
I love the idea that I have a yacht, but I live in an apartment.
How do you think I afford the yacht?
Oh, every Tuesday I gotta move my yacht to the other side of the street because of trash pickup. So annoying.
That's amazing. You just have a yacht in street parking. That's the best part. Street parking.
It's so frustrating. And I keep emailing the city. I'm like, oh my God, can you guys do something about the street parking? They're like, no, Jonathan, you can't park there after 10 p.m. So every Thursday, I got to move my yacht from the right side of the street to the left.
The burden of the rich, what a burden.
Mo money, mo problems.
Mo yacht problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We've like the last time we talked, the last episode, I know you mentioned a little bit about your past career.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear more about all of it, especially like the life coaching. But because I know you've done some life coaching stuff with me. It's been a while, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I don't know. Just give us a rundown. What are all the things you've done? Yeah, like it's a weird way to.
It's a lot. It's a long list. I have had a lot of different jobs. I'm going to give you a quick, just like listing off all the ones I can remember.
Hit me with a resume.
Okay. Worked in an ice cream parlor.
Ooh, me too.
Yes.
Should we just talk about this for an hour?
Oh my gosh, it gained so much weight because whenever my boss would leave, and he would, so he could do cocaine, I would just sit in the back and eat ice cream and brownies.
I love how you just threw him under the bus, and he would because he did cocaine.
Oh yeah, he'd be like, "I'm just gonna go do a bank run," and then he'd come back and like 4 hours later, the bank was next door, and he would be super jittery. He had 2 heart attacks. Like it was, he did the cocaine.
He did the cocaine.
He did the cocaine.
What was the name of your ice cream parlor?
Oh my God, you're gonna die. After all the talk of our last episode and the fruit that I hate, it was called the Banana Boat.
Yeah, you probably had to make ice cream sundaes.
Here's the thing. They had bananas in there, and I would avoid that section. And whenever anyone wanted a banana split, I would talk them out of it. So I didn't have to make it because I couldn't do it.
What would you get them to purchase instead of a banana split?
I would be like, we have this parfait. Have you tried this? And no one ever had because like they always got the, they came to the Banana Boat to get a banana split.
Sure, right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you haven't tried it? It is honestly, it's my favorite thing. And I'd be like, people love the banana split, but then they try this one and it's amazing. And I would talk them out of it so I wouldn't have to make it.
I love the fact that you went to go work at a place of a thing that you hate so much.
I know. I was pretty desperate. But there was the only place in town, and I don't know if anyone else has this, soft serve ice cream, but made with real cream. You know how soft serve is always made with milk, and it's like kind of like, it's delicious.
Oh, chemicals. Yeah.
But like this was homemade ice cream with like cream, and it was soft serve. So like think of the creamiest ice cream you've ever had from like an old timey place, but soft serve ice cream.
But soft serve.
This is why I gained like 15 pounds that summer.
How old were you?
17 or 18.
Okay, so like a high school job.
Yeah.
I worked at Baskin Robbins. I was
love Baskin.
14 when I got that job. I showed up for the job interview in a silk shirt.
Of course you did. That was what was beautiful at that time.
So there was like an owner, there's a guy, but then like it was all ran by high school. It was like looking back at it, it was like, oh, just a bunch of children supervising children. But there was the owner, he would pop in every once in a while. And he was there on the day of my interview. And I think I interviewed with a high schooler named Jenny, but I'm in middle school. I'm thinking she's an adult. So,
Yeah.
but the owner goes out and to talk to my dad, who had to take me because I don't have a car. Yeah. And like he just asked my dad if I was serious because of how like buttoned up I was. He's like, "What's his deal? Is he okay?" And they hired me. I think they hired me on the account. I'm going to use the word cuteness. Like they just thought it was very adorable. And
Yes.
but I will say the job was really fun. Like 15, I had keys to the place. I was making bank deposits. Like they walk up to the grocery stores in the same parking lot. Like they were like, Jonathan is like responsible and
you're like doing their taxes for them with like a little visor on and like
yeah. It wasn't that deep, but there was like getting cash, opening up in the morning, which was probably like 9 at the earliest. But I do think back to it. I was like, oh my God, I probably got in the nicest way. I don't know, like in the nicest way. I just was I got picked on like very like flirtatiously by these older high school girls. Like they would lock me in the freezer all the time. They'd be like, Jonathan, are your nipples hard?
I'm like, I went on a real roller coaster ride with this story because you're like, they would like, tease me flirtatiously. And I was like, okay. And they're like, they would lock me in the freezer. I was like, that is not flirtatious. And then you brought it back. Okay.
Yeah, brought it back around. Yeah, brought it back around. Yeah.
I was like, that is dangerous, possibly
like,
fatal.
if I knew what I know now, I'm like, oh, all these girls are flirting with me. I could have like macked that situation. But I was like, girls are I hate women. I go home crying every day.
Just frozen tears because you're in the in the freezer, just like on your face.
Every time I smell a waffle cone, I just get triggered. Waffle cones are so amazing.
I cannot eat ice cream in a waffle cone. I love it.
I love the smell of a waffle cone. I will
waffle
eat
cones
it.
Smell amazing. It does make me want them, but I was like, I don't know, because it feels like by the time you get down to the ice cream, it's gonna like just fall out of the waffle cone. Like, how do you make it? It's like a little cocoon.
Well, I mean, I think with any cone, at least as children, at some point you got to realize you just got to treat it like a cow's udder, just like you're like sucking the ice cream at the bottom and then like eating it. It's like all a little soggy at this point. But
also, I love that. I totally get this visual and I understand that this is what it is, but like it alludes to the fact as if you always saw cows and like, come here, like when
let me get that waffle cone.
You're like, you just had to treat it like a cow's udder. We all know how we treat cows' udders.
I can't. I'm trying to think. What is another example of like something you would like lift your head up and have to like do that to? But I can't think of anything else besides a cow.
A cow's udder is the first thing. Like I was thinking like a beer bong, but that's like another bad example.
Yeah. But it's close. Like, it's adjacent. Yeah.
Cow's udder.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You're right. There's a lot there. I'm not allowed to ground cows in like 32 states, so it's whatever.
The farmers see you coming. No, we told you can't come back on this farm.
Can't go to India. They do not appreciate it.
Oh, they'd be real mad.
They'd be real mad about how I'd be disgracing their cows.
Oh my goodness. It's like you can't even touch a cow and then look at you.
Okay, so I love that we went down that little journey. That was probably a little too long, but what else? What else have you done?
Okay, so I did that. I also was a professional soccer player. Mm-hmm. I worked as a youth program coordinator. I worked as
back up for youth program
coordinator for a small county essentially in northern Alberta in Canada.
Oh, okay, so you like ran their sports programs and sort of activities.
I had a youth center, and then I did all the activities for all the youth in the whole area.
That's really cool.
I had like a huge budget. It was awesome.
Man, me and you have some similarities, but keep going, please.
And then I moved overseas to Korea, and the jobs that I had were I taught kindergarten taught English to kindy kids, which was a lot of me being hungover and asking multiple kids give me massages. They're like preschool, really, but like the parents didn't care. They're just like, oh, teach them words. And if they came home saying the word ball, they were like, my kid speaks English, you know?
Yeah.
But like I would be just like playing games with them. I was like, let's have nap time. Let's all go sneak into the kitchen and eat snacks. Like I wasn't a teacher. But then I also taught businessmen English, and that was mostly just drinking beer and eating Korean barbecue. So
we all know what that job was.
It did not. I mean, it sounds like it should be like you're an escort, and I thought there might be some of that. There wasn't. I was kind of disappointed, but you know, like it's.
Right. But they're would they? Well, I don't want to.
Would they make advances? None of them did.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did they like take you out for dinners?
So it would be a group, right? Like, so it'd be like someone from some company, and it'd be like 5 of them, and they would be like, our English lesson was we would get together in the classroom, but then sometimes it would be for dinner to have like conversation and talk about things. Yeah. And then sometimes their homework would be to like watch TV, and then like we would talk about that episode or whatever, that kind of stuff. Okay. But it really was like one of the best jobs because you got a bunch of food, a bunch of beer. Like beer is a part of Korean like businessman everything. Right. So they loved that I drank beer, and they're like, you drink beer and you played soccer and you're gonna teach us English? What? Yeah. And you eat meat? This is the best. Like I was like, this is my dream come true. That's perfect. So I did that, and then I worked for a publishing company in Korea as their English department, like doing all their English books. Then I came back home and I worked as the sample person in the grocery store, which I loved. Yes. I was a tutor, which I did not love. I worked at a tea shop, which I did motivational speaking. I was an online lifestyle program host. I
definitely want you to finish your list, but here's my question. At what point, and I think actually you might have started to say it in this last job, but like at what point were you doing any of these jobs while you were pursuing acting career?
No, haven't even gotten to that point
yet. Okay, yeah. Okay, great.
This is what I mean. I had so many jobs. Yeah. I was a wedding planner. I think you knew that. Yeah. Love that. Then I was certified as a professional life coach, and I worked with clients like super high executive people doing life coaching and group coaching. And then and then motivational speaking more from that, hosting big things. And then I decided I wanted to like take my first acting class. Gotcha. And I got into acting, and then I got into stand-up comedy, and then I got into like hosting stuff and writing. Would you say then I started writing for an app not long ago. I stopped that now, but yeah.
Would you say that, especially some of those earlier jobs, would you say that like you were like you kind of were like because it's a lot, and then I mean like yes, like the high school stuff, the ice cream shop, some of those things are the things that we do when we haven't really figured out what we want to do in life. But like would like tutoring, teaching people English, stuff like that. It sounds like maybe you had a thought that you might be a teacher, like life coach kind of fills in that same space.
I mean, I never wanted to be a teacher. I love kids. So I love playing with kids and doing that kind of stuff. Like, I don't really think any of the stuff I ever did was teaching. It was mostly just like hanging out. Like, I'm like, how are you doing? Like, do you need any help? Like, I feel like I was like, I'd be a good like counselor, like a school counselor or something like that. I can see that. But like, I was really trying to figure it out. Yeah. The only like 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job I've ever had was working for the Business Development Bank of Canada. And they hired me as like a temporary person, and they just kept keeping me on, but they were just they didn't know what for me to do because I wasn't trained in anything, but they liked that I brought good, like positive energy. And so they had me doing stuff where they're like, you just organize all the social things and the charity things. One of the initiatives I started was this fundraising thing, and I showed up in a full cheerleading costume and went from everyone's office, and I was like, give us your money, and like I had a bucket and like cheered until they put money in the bucket. And they're like, oh, Aisha's just crazy.
Did anyone approve that? No, she did that on her own.
Oh yeah, nobody.
Oh man, maybe we should like promote her so she stops doing that.
Maybe that's why they offered me the bigger job. My boss was this woman she was amazing because she was just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. You're fun. I like you. I'm gonna pay you money. Whatever you want to do, approved. Blanket approval.
I love it because she also sounds like she's in the mafia. I don't like it. I don't care as long as you bring me your money every Friday. Do what you want to do.
She gave me a parking pass, and like some of the managers didn't have parking passes. She's like, she needs a place to park her car, and I was like, yep, sure. And they were like, we've been waiting for 12 years to get a parking pass. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, man, I got to park.
Okay, Steve, give her a pass. Actually, you know what, Steve, you're fired.
Aisha, take Steve's pass. Let's do this.
Aisha, you're now Steve. You're the new Steve.
You're the more fun Steve. Like the manager who was retiring, they offered me this like full-time crazy pay, like really not a lot of responsibility. And he brought me into his office and he was like, hey, congrats on that. Don't take that job.
Right.
And he's like, it will crush you. You have such a spirit, like you have such an energy. Like this job is not what you want to be doing for the rest of your life. And then like years later, when I started doing comedy and started getting like on shows and stuff like this, I got a message from him on like Facebook where he's like, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm Ken from the BDC. And I'm just so proud of you. I'm so glad you didn't take that job. And I was legit like, you are like a pivot point in my like, I was like wavering. Should I take this job? Should I not?
Right. Yeah.
And like I have to thank you, Ken.
He kind of like opened he like left the door open for you a little bit so you can escape, like be free.
Yeah.
Run.
You know, sometimes you just need someone to give you that little push.
Yeah.
That's what he did for me.
That's what he did. Yeah. No, that's great. And then
so that's my list. I want to hear your list too.
I mean, yeah, let's go back. So I worked part-time for my dad. My dad was a machinist. By part-time, I mean I just cleaned the machine shop every night. But then my first official job was Baskin Robbins. I went from Baskin Robbins to IHOP.
These are great jobs. I want to.
IHOP was insane because like I worked the weekend overnight shift, and so it was mostly overnight? People. Yeah, mostly people. I think it was like probably like 15, 16 at this point. No, 16. So it was mostly people like ditching out on their checks.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a bunch of horny people, kids working there, and people like coming in super drunk and ditching out on their checks. But also pancakes. And then I went
from around the world,
from our international pancakes. Oh my gosh, crepes. That's the only thing that was different was crepes.
I know that, and like if they're like waffles, they're from Belgium. You're like,
oh, good point. Also, we have burgers. Yeah.
That's the waffle of Kazakhstan.
Yes, I had an audition for IHOP a couple years ago, and I didn't do any of my lines. I just talked about how I used to work there. They were probably like, "Okay, cool. Like, we don't owe you anything." I was like, "Yeah, but people would walk out on their." You realize when people walk out on their, I had to pay for it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a bad system. I
think like they try to make it seem like it was your fault that like because it was bad service or whatever. But so and then I went to go work for Gregory's, which was like sort of like an upscale Applebee's. It was like a family owned. It was really I think we talked a little bit about that. And then they opened a sports bar called the Penalty Box right next to it, so I was able to go back and forth. And there was a period of time where I worked at an arcade, which was like the most fun.
Yeah. Like, what did you do there?
Absolutely nothing. Like
in the ball pit,
like at best we had to like sometimes we had they had like a putt course. You had to sweep off the putt course. Sometimes balls would get stuck in the plums would get stuck in the batting cage in the plumbing cage. But so we had to do that, but it was mostly me and my best friend in high school, Shane. His parents owned it, and we just played air hockey and like just hung out, talked to girls. Like I got robbed there once, but beyond that, it was the best job ever. While I was working, I remember it was kind of like near not the best part of town, so we'd have all kind of types coming in. But I remember one day, I think Shane and his parents were in the back, and I was up front, like taking the tokens out or whatever. And like these three guys that always came in, that always caused trouble, like came in, saw that I was in the front by myself, like got me, like kind of cornered me, just like, what do you got? And I'm just like, it's not much, but you can have it. Like just took all my money. Yeah, they took all the tokens. They took my cash and like went to the 7-Eleven across the street. And then, of course, like I went in, I was like, I just got robbed. They called the police. Police showed up pretty quickly. And like as the guys are walking back, I think they were coming back to play video game. The police are like, what are you doing? And they're like, give him his money back. And they're like, you're not allowed here anymore.
Did you get your money back?
Yeah.
This is the most amazing robbery story because I was like, oh my gosh, you've been robbed? That sounds traumatic. And then I'm like, oh wait, that sounds actually amazing.
Yeah, it ended up being kind of like okay, I guess. I mean, it wasn't like traumatic. I didn't get like it wasn't at gunpoint or I didn't necessarily fear for my life. I was just like, just take it. It's like $13.
I love that they were coming back. Yeah, $13, and then they came back. They were like, how many tokens can we get with this $13?
Right. They're like, thank you for your money. Now, can we trade this in for one of those stuffed animals? Yeah. Okay. So, I forgot about that. Okay, where was I? Penalty box. Went to college. College, I had a lot of weird jobs. I'm gonna try to speed through it. I was a caterer. Which like I would work at those places, Sunday brunches, where I would cut your roast beef and make you an omelet.
Oh yeah.
That was fun.
It's like almost always when I'm here, a black guy. Is that a
thing? Now that you say that,
right?
Maybe it is. We have. I mean, yeah, we could talk about the history of servitude. Okay. Okay. That. Let's see. I ran intramurals at college. Ran our intramural programs for a couple of years. I also, I was hustling. I also worked for a kind of like a boys girls home. Kids who got kicked out of college, kicked out of high school for drugs. They had to go through our program.
Oh my
before
gosh,
they can go back to school.
2 jobs I had. I forgot to mention.
Right. Yeah. It feels like we both just like had like a ton of, okay. And then I'm trying to think, was there anything else kind of college? I worked at Ruby Tuesdays, and I had a similar experience where they offered me like an assistant manager position. And the owner, he was like, Jonathan, we really like you. Like, we have this assistant manager position. He goes, are you interested? And he goes, I don't think you should do it. And I was like, thank you so much for offering this job, because you're right, I shouldn't do this. I bounced. I left college early. I was so offended that he offered me this job. I quit college for a year. I was just like, I'm out of here, guys. And then I went to go work for this company called Sports Dream Media, Sports something media, which was like a sales job. And then I went to go work for the Y, intern for the YMCA. And that's kind of where I started doing marketing and whatnot. Yeah. And then I took a break. I went to go work for Legoland. I did marketing for Legoland. And then I went back to the YMCA. And I think that's all of it. That was a bunch of junk.
And now comedy writing and...
Comedy writer, part-time lover, whatever.
Just part-time.
Part-time. Can't afford to do it full-time. Can't give you all my love. It's part of it.
You got to save some of that love for you.
Exactly. Me and Drake, man,
You and Drake.
I don't know. Doesn't he have? No, his is certified lover boy. I thought he had like a thing called part-time lover. Ooh, maybe I should drop an album.
Isn't that like there is a song called Part-Time Lover, isn't there?
There may be. It would make sense. It would sound like something like a guy.
Like a famous song.
Yeah. What were the two things that you forgot?
I forgot to mention, I also worked in a program with kids on the spectrum. Doing behavioral therapies, and I loved it. Obviously, I love kids, and so like some of my kids were like, my favorite guy that I worked with for the longest his name was Joey. Shout out to Joey, my boy. And
Jojo.
They were like trying to work with him on voice control because he yelled a lot,
right?
But he was also like super cute and super excited about life, and so I was like, he loved Bob the Builder, which is like a cartoon.
Who doesn't?
And he, whenever it would come on, he'd be like, Bob the Builder, Bob the Builder, and he would flip. And I was like, why would I ever like change this? This is the most beautiful thing. This kid is expressing his joy. I'm like, other kids yell because they're excited. I'm not going to stop this. And they really hated me because I was like, no, let him be a kid. Right. That is not because he's on the spectrum. That's because he's a passionate child about Bob the Builder.
He's expressing,
So they didn't like me there, and I stopped working there. And then I worked, and I did an internship where I worked for a maximum men's security prison.
I thought you were like, I heard you say maximum, but I heard Maxim. And then you said men's. I was like, Maxim had a men's magazine?
Yeah. I just did all their cover shoots with guys with no clothes on.
They were all in prison.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. Yeah, I don't know why. I jumped the shark. Like, that's pretty interesting. What did you do in a prison?
I was doing an internship to do like programs. So like kind of like programs that can work toward your probation. So like I studied psychology and ended up in sports psychology, but studied psychology in university. Yep. So it was things like psychological therapeutic programs.
Right.
They weren't really that therapeutic, I don't think, but like that they could do. Conflict management, planning, like whatever, right? Like social skills, essentially.
Yep.
But then I found out when I went to this one conference that it was illegal what they were doing, having a student work who wasn't qualified and hadn't been like hired.
Right.
And so I talked to like the warden, and I was like, I don't really feel comfortable doing this. And also, I was in this area where there was no security, and I was just going to be in a room with like all these guys with no exit. And right before I came, one of the other women who works in programs had gotten locked in the bathroom by one of the guys, turned off the lights, and he had a vial of his own blood and was like, you have to have sex with me, otherwise I'm going to stab you with my blood. Like, it was crazy. And then they're like, bring in another young lady. And it's fine, you know, replace that one with another one. So I went to the warden and I was like, I don't really feel comfortable. Maybe I can work in a different area where it's more secure. And I don't think I'm allowed to work in this department.
Right.
And he had me escorted off the property, which only happens if you bring in contraband or have sex with an inmate. So basically, like, everyone, when I was leaving, there's like 2 people who escort me out and like walk me with their hands on me to the end.
Right.
So everyone thought I either brought drugs in or screwed an inmate.
Yeah, all the inmates were like, walk of shame. You're like, you're in jail. Chill out.
It was so horrifying, though. And then I went to HR, which was like outside in a building outside of the actual like
HR cell block D.
I was like, hey, this just happened. Like, that's not okay. And what they're doing is illegal. And I was like about to blow it up. And she's like, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of it. And then her taking care of it was just, they paid me under the table for like months afterwards. And I was a starving student. So I was like, all right, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
My dad's like, go to the press. I was like, yeah, let's get money.
Your story about working with what did you say with the guy who Joey?
Oh yeah.
What was
Kids on the Spectrum?
Kids on the Spectrum. So when I worked at the Y, I've had a lot of jobs where I opened, so I had to be there like at 4:30 every day, every week. And so the people who go work out and at the Y, at least in Atlanta, and I think most gyms that early, are what I consider like the go-getters of America.
Totally. I'm just saying this. I also worked at a gym and I had to open it at 4:30, and it's the same people all the time.
Right. So you get it. And I loved it. Like, you know, it was early, but I was like, I got to know these people. They got to know me. And like, most of them are really nice and very appreciative. Like, I had to make coffee and make sure all that stuff. And then every once in a while you get like a jerk who didn't know, like, no, I run this. Like, they come in and try to, you're like, you're in here because I'm here, sir. But I got offered, and I do regret that I didn't. And I know, who knows, like what path this would have taken me down. But one of the people who came in actually offered me a job. He had a son. He had an adult son, so probably around the time 20s. It was like around my same age, who was on autistic, and this guy was an international lawyer.
We now say on the spectrum.
On the spectrum. So sorry. He was on the spectrum, and so he would take. But he's an international lawyer, and so when he would go do cases, his family would go on vacation with him. They would go on these trips with him, and they wanted a friend, essentially, like a caregiver for his son. Yeah, and like, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't like afraid of doing it. I think I was just sort of like, what does this mean for my career path? But looking back at that, I'm like, man, what an adventure would that have been? Because I already had been traveling. I would have just gotten to travel, and I would have got to hang out with a friend.
Can we call him now and see if he still needs someone to do
is that job still available? Can I do it?
Like, that sounds fun.
Right. You know, like, I know someone. I finally thought about it. 20 years later, I have a person.
I don't know you. I haven't met your son, but I think it'd be a really good fit for this. My kids also have to come. No big deal.
My husband might show up every once in a while. You don't got to pay them, though. You just got to pay me. Everyone else is like built in. No, and like, I mean, I think about it, like, even now, like, I had like some car issues, and like ended up let's talk about this one point. Ended up like being homeless for a period of time because like I had to get my car fixed and couldn't afford my rent and da 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 da. But like thinking back, and I was like, they were gonna pay for everything. They had like a guest house. I was gonna live in their guest house. Yeah. I was gonna do all the. Oh man, I really screwed the pooch on that one.
Whatever your intuition.
Someone should have kicked me in the plums.
Neil plums, squish up those plums. Whatever your intuition feeling was about that was the correct one. So if you're like, I feel uncomfortable, you never know. Like, and then the thing is, if it was uncomfortable or bad, you would have been in some foreign place with this family that's not yours, that like kind of owns you in a way. You know what I mean? Like you're their employee.
I'm with you. Yeah, I don't like. I try not to say like, oh, I regret anything. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe that was an opportunity missed because I didn't feel uncomfortable. I was just like, I was more like, well, no, this is. I'm going to work here, and then I'm going to go do this, and then like I kind of had like an idea of what my career trajectory was supposed to be, and that was like a complete. It didn't fit in. And looking back at it, like, who cares, right? Like, look what I'm doing now.
It would have been fun to do that for like a year. You know what I mean? Just take like a sabbatical from life and go travel. You know, I want to have like a documentary done about just regular people because we think that, celebrities or politicians or whatever. It's like, yeah, cool. But there's so many interesting stories of just people you meet, you know? If
you could do anything, you might have sort of leaned into this a little bit or hinted to it, but if you weren't an actor or you weren't an entertainer, you weren't in this entertainment industry, and you could do anything else, what would it be?
My two things.
Okay.
I would be a real estate agent because I feel like that'd be really fun.
Ooh, okay.
And I'd be good at it because I'm like, I love designing houses. Like maybe like a person who like flips them and then sells houses. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Or I would be an event planner. I love planning events. So much. I want to do like high-end events where people have money.
Right.
You know, that would be my jam.
What about you? I think I also thought I was going to be a teacher. So before I got into marketing. So I think like part of me, like I really like, in high school, like all I wanted to do is be like a college football coach. So I figured like, I got to coach, I got to teach. So those two things were connected. So I think I would coach. That would be sort of the dream job if I wasn't doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Nice.
I like working with sort of like you said, young people. More like, especially like when I've coached like kids, I like that sort of 5th grade, 6th grade range because like they're not adults, they're not like adults yet, they're still fun kids, but they're like starting
in between.
They're kind of in between, so you can kind of talk to them at a like elevated level. Whether it's about the sport, like you can really start talking about sport, or if they just have life stuff they're going through. You know,
they're going through puberty. I'm
they're
like,
going through puberty.
Those kids, there should be so much space for kids in that age group because puberty is insane. Can you imagine if there was an adult puberty we went through? I mean, women go through menopause, men go through their own sort of thing. But like, imagine if like, not even like that late. Like, imagine when you turned 30, you had puberty again. Like, we wouldn't be able to handle it as adults.
It was up. Yeah.
Right? It would just be like the world would end because we could not handle it. The fact that like kids who are that young handle it with such grace most of the time is like, blows my mind. It's phenomenal.
You've like I've sent you some bits I'm working on for this hour, but a part of that chunk is like, how did we survive middle school? It's such a roller like elementary. Like I've been trying to think about like when did it all go wrong? Because like I remember like being a kid in elementary school, snack time, nap time, everything was great, and then you hit like 6th grade, and you're like, oh no. I just have a boner all the time. Like what?
I know. I'm like, those hormones are raging.
Yes. What is going on with my body? And the fact that like we figured it all out, it's pretty amazing.
Yes.
I think
people do not give kids in general, but especially I think, not just all kids, like think about learning a new language when you don't have a brain that's fully developed, right? Like that stuff, learning how to walk, learning how to like complex things. Like we don't realize how basic our brain is and what is happening for babies' brains. And then you get to like toddlers and they have to learn to like share. Like imagine if someone just came to you and was like, nah, your car's mine now for a bit. And you're like, what? Like they have to like deal with all this stuff and be like having no control in their body, no control in their world. Their parents control everything. Then they graduate to being tweens. And all of a sudden their bodies start to like shift a little bit, right? And like, and you're expected to like be doing stuff in school, like real learning and real tests.
Like a Pokemon. You're like, ooh, you're evolving.
Yeah, you evolve into a whole other person, and then you get it like, and then there's high school where there's all this pressure for stuff. You become an adult, like that's why everyone loves their 30s so much. You're finally out of all these things where you're constantly in transition, and you just hit like your 30s, and you're like, okay, this is just how I'm going to be until I die. Everything's just going downhill from here. There's going to be no changes that like evolve me into a new human. For women, it's different for pregnancy and menopause and stuff, but like. that's why I think the 30s are your best, because that's when you sort of finally stop all of the craziness.
Yeah, no, and maybe if you're lucky, you got a little bit of money.
A little bit of body?
A little bit of money.
Money. I was like, yeah, that's when you get your body, baby.
That's when you get your body.
Ooh,
I love
body, yaddy, yaddy.
I love seeing babies body yaddy yaddy baby. I love seeing a toddler or a baby, like when they first discover something. Like, and
Yes.
that something can be as simple as like a piece of grass.
Yeah.
They're just like rubbing it, and it's like you could tell like whatever like is happening in their brain, like it's just sort of like their brain is starting to like compute, and they just like stare at this like piece of grass. Things that today I don't even like appreciate anymore. They're like, it's almost like they're on mushrooms.
Yes.
And
That's what people love doing psychedelics, because it like brings you back to that childhood when you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, the world is phenomenal.
exactly, they're like, what is this? This is
Yes.
a ladybug, and I'm like, oh, ladybug. Ugh.
I know, yeah. Like, I remember my friend telling me, this is when I was like younger, she had a kid, and she was like, wow, Rupert discovered his hand is his today. And it was like, he was like moving it around, and then he moved it around, then he like looked at it and just like intentionally moved it, and his mind, she's like, his mind was blown. And I was like, yeah, you forget, like, you had to learn your body was yours and you had
Yeah.
control over it. Like, yeah, it's nuts.
That's so funny. I love that idea, because it's also sort of like it's how we imagine like AI is going to take, like, oh, I'm a real thing. Okay. And yeah, eventually.
That's how it takes over the world, when
Yeah.
it becomes conscious that it can.
Yeah, should we check in on Rupert? What is he doing? Is he okay?
He's like a grown adult now. He's
Yeah.
in his 30s probably now, you know. He's like
Yeah.
living his best life. It's not in his 30s, I'm sure, but yeah. Rupee.
Rupee. Is there anything you want to kind of plug? I know we keep plugging our show. I think this one will come out before the 21st. Should we plug that?
Yeah, we have a show. We have a show. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement. Okay, it's a movement.
Preach.
We are a working. Preach. Oh, thank you.
My bad. Got excited.
I love it. Look at me. What'd you say?
What? What do you want me to do?
I'm just not allowed back in church. Preach, girl. What'd you say to me? Huh?
But that's
Linda,
a
what'd you say?
That's a very funny sketch idea. The preacher who doesn't want to be interrupted. What? Who said that? Just like, all right, nobody else say anything.
I will take all the amens at the end. Thank you very much.
Amen, brother.
Who
Get him out
asked
of
you,
here.
Charlie?
Get him out of here.